Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Spellbreak episode. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Today, I wanted to go into a solo match and go ahead and give myself some commentary based on what, how the game felt to me, based on the things that I saw that I could definitely improve upon, and as well, I wanted to explain some of my actions. I know not everybody can play exactly the same way, and I'm not expecting that of anybody. But if anybody's having some trouble and thinks that my playstyle may help them improve, then I highly recommend that you continue to watch this video. So we went ahead and started out with landing right next to a chest where I opened it up before my character was even completely ready to go. This is a technique that I use very, very often. So this technique essentially allows me to open up a chest before anybody else has really had a chance to maybe even land or even open up their own. I go ahead and engage somebody who's down below. If you guys notice, I specifically landed on the wall, so anybody who was down below me, I had the upper ground advantage. Once they started to fall back into the courtyard, I jumped down on top of them, refusing to let them get any cover. After taking them out, I quickly ran around and continued to loot. I started with the small chests, moved my way up to the larger ones, and as you can notice, I open up my scrolls usually before picking up my pockets. My reasoning is the scrolls take longer to pick up, and if I end up getting attacked, I can quickly move using the left thumbstick and immediately pick up the item on the ground, leaving the scroll behind. But this gives me a longer time, potentially if anybody's coming up on me, to ensure that I get that scroll and that extra tactical advantage. The next step for me was to go run off and open up the monovault. As I know it's timed, I immediately take off and continue looting the surrounding areas of the castle where I was currently fighting. Because at this point, I've been running around the area enough that I have a general idea of the layout in my mind, and I can adequately address any situations that come my way. For example, when this wind user started attacking me, I immediately knew that I could jump up and begin the assault from a high ground that was in. I ended up taking him out swiftly and noticed I'm getting attacked from behind. My first instinct is to get off the wall, jump down, and try to get around behind this opponent. When I go up, I have trouble spotting him at first, but immediately seeing him, I drop an extra ability, and that's when I notice a third fighter up on the top floor. Instead of continuing to fight both of them from the low ground, I disappear through the back gate and jump up and heal myself. Then, now that I know their fight is well underway, I jump in at the last second while both of them are weak and attempts to take both the kills. I miss a couple shots on the first guy as he's up high, but I encourage him to go down low. I jump down with him in the middle of the fight, take him out, and immediately shift my attention to the other fighter, who seems to have run off the field. So I'm going to go ahead and go and loot a little bit more, and hopefully the sound of my looting will draw him out. As I continue to not see him, I start to focus on my loot, thinking that he's potentially run off, scared of the fight. Again, I begin reading another body scroll first before picking up any gear to ensure I have maximum time to be able to actually activate that scroll. Then I notice I'm getting shot at by poison behind me. So again, I use the same technique. Instead of fighting head on, I go around the corner to make him come to me. As soon as he sets that tornado, as soon as he gives that as soon as he made that tornado toxic, I should have blown it up with my fire, but I was just so confident with the wind, that I went ahead and used it, and I took some life damage for it, or rather shield damage for it. Alas, or well, luckily, he had some extra. Then I was ambushed by one final player who, during a lag spike, I went ahead and did that same fire tornado combo that I knew I could do, despite not seeing where he went. My worst case scenario was he had actually started moving forward during that lag spike, and I would have to fight him in that close combat, which I was confident of with my jump. After continuing to loot the area, I will here soon be moving on. And as you'll see, I'm actually going to check the map and see where a large area of the greater world map is coming into a close on the circle. And I'm going to move to that edge of the castle in hopes to catch any players who are going to be coming from that direction. That'll be following this movement. Again, I continue to casually move around the castle, looting as I will, and just picking up as much gear as possible. It's very important whenever you're playing this that you're completely well stocked. I'm pretty sure during this time I was looking for extra shield shards so that way I could pop off one to full, which is what I do here. After determining the area is safe, I go ahead and open that shield and continue running around, inspecting the loot that's near me. After deciding that none of the loot over here is appropriate, I continue to move over to that wall that I was talking about. From over here, I'm going to continue to loot, and I believe I do get ambushed again. And there we go, guys. See, I'm checking the map now, and I'm reorienting myself up towards the top of the map. I remember that when we had spawned in, there was a couple of circles to my north, and I'm trying to take advantage of those by cutting off any players who are going to come and meet me at my castle. Again, since I've landed here and I'm familiar with where the loot is, I know where these people may want to go to in order to pick up some of that gear. So I'm going to go ahead and meet them on this side of the castle where I'm more familiar. I spot one person through the gate on my right, and as soon as they throw a boulder at me, it's absolutely time to go. I'm going to go ahead and place a tornado and try to throw a fireball. This is because I know they may run across the center, and when they do, their health bar actually gives me a little radar on where they are. Following that, I go ahead and assault them with my air, using my high altitude as an advantage against this stone user. Then it's right back to looting. This game is a lot of looting. The better gear you have, the better off you are in general. Now what you guys can see me doing is I'm actually making my way to the shorter edge of the ring. When you guys get to the area of the ring where the distance to close is going to be much closer, the ring is actually going to be moving slower. Because of this, I know that there may not be very many players on this edge. So now I'm going to follow this edge of the ring most of the way up while attempting to cut off any players who are currently trying to run from it. It's called gatekeeping. It's what I just did to this one. He came in from the storm and I went ahead and cut him off midway. His unfortunate mistake of using the toxin to my fire caused him to take a lot of extra damage, which I capitalized on to quickly end the fight. After running back towards the circle, I realize that there's another fight going on between two different players. I go ahead and jump in the fight as quickly as I can and immediately start assaulting the first player. At this point, I realized that he had already knocked out the other player, and he's the only target that I currently have to deal with. Did you guys notice what I had missed? That's right. Back over to our northwest, there was actually an enemy hiding under a rock that we had missed, and there he is coming in above me. I actually didn't see him when I first played through, but watching through the playbacks, I actually noticed that he was under there healing. In fact, he was probably a part of a three-man fight of this group, and had broken off to heal, while this other gentleman was destroyed by the playback. I started looting because I think he backed off a teenager, and he comes and surprises me. This takes out most of my shields, but using again my high mobility, I run to the side of him and knock him out with my air. Following which, I take the time advantage to go ahead and pop back up my shield. The last thing I want to do at this point is get one shot by somebody who's using ice because I refuse to heal up correctly. I go ahead and check out all the loot once again at the edge of the circle, following which I'm going to start moving back into the castle. Again, the loads of cover is absolutely great for me because it means that I'll be more protected. And here you can see I'm checking my map again. This map check is important because as we get closer to the edge of the circle, it's going to be harder and harder to gatekeep people. The reason being is because any battles that are going to happen from here on out are going to likely have multiple parties. And that kind of battle is not something I'm trying to get into while we're down to the last 11 people. 10 not including me. So again, I move to the short zone, where I know the zone is going to be moving slower, and thus gives me more time to loot on this edge of the map. I quickly find that it's mostly mountainous terrain with a number of players over. I quickly dispatch one lightning user, again using the same fire and air tornado combo. This does an immense amount of damage, and being use my ability of being in height creates extra damage. I continue to jump as I wail on them with my air. I take their scroll, heal up a little bit more because I see that they have appropriate gear to replenish my stocks. Looting just on the edge of the zone. Again, since I'm on that slower side, it buys me plenty of time to do this. Now I'm going to continue to move over, trying to avoid this last fight. While it wouldn't be wrong of me to jump into this fight and absolutely get those extra kills, I'm looking at my scoreboard as I've already killed 10, and if I play my cards right, I'll only have to fight one person at the end, who's hopefully more damaged than I am currently. Well, as I continue to move down to the edge, I'm becoming more and more increasingly aware of a fight that I can hear going on nearby towards the south and southeast. Then, the fight begins. A toxic leader comes up to me with low shield, who I quickly dispatch, then using the same fire influence to those that love. Then, I do my signature and finish him off with that air from the air. Well, finish him off with the wind from the air. And again, I'm going to take this advantage to quickly heal as much as possible. And these last moments, every piece of health can count. Yes, I'm leaving apart the actual health value, but I feel that 2 health, when I already have full vigor, is negligible compared to what I'll need, especially since I'm already looking at 11 kills and 4 people remaining in the game, which means that the 2 people I'm watching fight in front of me are 2 of the last 3. So I'm going to get to the highest ground that I possibly can, so I can begin to watch this battle take place. As I watch them, I'm waiting to see how much they damage each other. If one person goes down, that's my cue to immediately jump into the fight. I also try to do some external damage without giving away my position. For example, when I just shot the fireball at the tornado and fireball there at the acid, I'm trying to cause external damage so that way their fight progresses faster, allowing me time to loot before the end. I end up getting the exile on one very weak enemy and decide that it's time to pounce. At this point, the other gentlemen, whether they have lots of heals, are probably dead. I was wrong. They were ready. Unfortunately, I had the high ground, and as the wind falling off the cliff, I was able to do massive amounts of damage and quickly end. At the end of the day, that was my final proper kill of this game. I can only assume that the final gentleman I was fighting against today got stuck in the storm somewhere, as shortly after I began my loot, and to search for this gentleman, I win the game. As you guys can see here, I'm just looking around for my final scroll in anticipation of that final fight when there's the winner. The gentleman accidentally knocks himself somewhere else on the map, and I take the win with 13 exiles, 1,423 damage. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. God, I can't believe I wasn't talking that whole time. I was not expecting to win 13 exiles. Goodness gracious.